3, 2, I'm just
Perfect. So Hannah and I know each other from how many years ago? 2, 3?
I think it's like 3.5 now, actually.
That's actually crazy.
Yeah.
And we met at the gym. She was a trainer at the gym and I was a newbie and I needed some guidance. And Hannah she's a trainer. Obviously you're working at the gym, but you're also a nutritionist now. And I'm a nutritionist. So we like immediately bonded over that.
Yeah.
And she actually just made sourdough this morning.
I did for the first time.
First time. Because it's good for your gut, you know?
I mean, I actually was thinking like earlier this morning, I just had my coffee and I was like, I don't know the last time I had coffee, not on an empty stomach, but this morning I was about to do it. You know how important coffee is to get the brain going. But I was like, no, I'm going to have something. And I had my sourdough.
Good for you.
Yeah, I know.
I'm still not the best at that. Like even after everything I know about our hormones and our gut health, sometimes I'm still like, you know what? I need my coffee immediately. And it's such a bad habit.
It's good there are 2 microphones in between us and I don't want to mess up anything because I'd go over and smack you. The amount of times I've told you about not having coffee on an empty stomach.
I know.
And everything that you know with gut health.
I
Grace.
know. Sometimes, we don't take our own advice.
That's true.
But
do you feel like you have a proper visual of what goes on when you have coffee on an empty stomach?
Yeah. So I actually...
And you still do it. Okay.
I did this experiment like 2 weeks ago. I got a CGM, which is a continuous glucose monitor. And when you drink coffee, obviously it spikes your cortisol, which then spikes your blood sugar. So I was like, let me see, because everybody's really different. And I wanted to see if it would actually spike mine. And so I was wearing the CGM, drank coffee on an empty stomach, and... what do you know? It spiked my blood sugar.
Wow.
But the most interesting thing was, because it's obviously our body's like natural response to drinking or like eating anything, your blood sugar is going to spike. And that's a normal, healthy response.
Right.
And so it spiked. But what was interesting is it dropped like immediately after and then spiked again like an hour later, but very high. And so that was just an indication that it really does affect your hormones and your whole cycle for the rest of the day. It's not just an initial spike. It really sends you on that roller coaster for the whole day. So I saw that and I was like, yikes, like it really does affect me, but I still do it.
I mean, can you imagine also people that don't even take the time to be as present also as you are, don't live the kind of life that you live where you do have time to put into, and also you're a health coach too, you're a nutritionist. So you have the time to be like, oh, let me experiment in this sort of way. But the people that, wake up and they're so frantic and they grab their morning coffee, they run to work and, they don't even think about how they're feeling. I mean, everybody has 10 symptoms of something nowadays. And I feel like so many people, that's just become their new normal. And they don't think, why is this actually happening?
Yeah, that's the crazy thing is like so many people are so unhealthy and they're kind of just living in this like foggy state of feeling like their stomach hurts all the time. They wake up super groggy. They get crazy like energy dips and drops and spikes. They have skin issues. Their hair is falling out. Their periods are all over the place. And it's like, it's almost this thing now where it's accepted as normal. And so people don't even realize that they feel terrible. And it's not until they either like hit rock bottom where they can't function anymore, or they have like a lull where they start really taking care of themselves. And then that fog lifts and they're like, oh my God, I'm supposed to feel this good all the time.
I feel like in a world where everybody just blames their body for all of these symptoms, like, oh, I'm not a morning person, I wake up in this fog, or I just have such low energy, or my body just hates me, it's my genetics. What do you think it all comes down to with all the work that you've done with clients and all the research you've done and all your, certifications with nutritionists and all of that? What do you think the actual root cause of all these symptoms that you just explained is?
I think it's obviously, a combination of things. But one of the things that I think is at the root of it is our gut health, because our microbiome and all the bacteria and the ecosystem of our gut, because it really is an ecosystem, it affects so much from our hormones, our mood, our immune system, like everything starts in the gut. And if that's unhealthy, it causes so many issues. And it's funny because there's so many like detoxes and trends and like all these supplements that people take to like fix their gut health, like probiotics, detox teas. and a lot of them just don't work. And so it's really tricky with like the internet and all of this information that we have to sift through it and figure out like what actually works and what's going to move the needle. And obviously the first thing is your diet. So nutrition is super important. You have to be eating enough fiber, enough antioxidants. You want to get enough protein. But if your gut health is in a really bad state, you're not going to absorb nutrition anyway. So you could have the most perfect diet, but you won't absorb any nutrients. So that's a big problem.
Yeah. Well, even just to share a little bit of my experience with clients too. And the reason why I got into the holistic side of all of this is because I realized in today's day and age, when there are so many, I forget the statistic, it's something like 10,000 ingredients or something are now added in the last like 10 years.
Crazy.
And we're thinking that we can still operate off of the same kind of like guidelines for fitness and health as we did, even just a decade ago. When I first started coaching clients, my background was bodybuilding. I was very like, you can have the same meal plan every single day, like keep it really simple, like I remember telling clients not even to have fruit because of the sugar, right? And then I'm realizing over time, it's like, it's not about just calories in, calories out. It's about getting a certain amount of calories, right? And not expending the energy in a way where you're like wrecking your how do I say your
metabolism.
How do I say this? It's about energy in, energy out in a certain way, right? But where those calories are actually coming from and what ingredients are actually attached to those calories means so much more. I feel like what people don't understand about metabolism is that it is a manager of all these different systems that want to be working in harmony. But when one thing, usually nowadays somebody's gut health, is off, all of your energy, so all the food that's coming in that your body, your metabolism is breaking down and then shuffling to certain spots, it's all being shuffled to your gut and rebuilding something that's like, hey, I'm off in a certain way. So then what does that mean? You have less energy to give to cognitive function. You have less energy to give to even just proper hormone production, right? You're going to see that in so many different areas that, it does start in the gut, but it affects so many different places. And if you're not present enough to even understand those symptoms and understand you're having them, then you could be living a life that, is like 50% of your potential. And that's so sad. You have one life, I
know.
But these fads and these detoxes and all these things, I look at them and I'm just like, guys, like sometimes we need to add things in, right? It's not about restricting calories. It's not about, but look at the quality of everything. And that goes for supplement brands as well. Quality of supplement brands.
Yeah.
Too.
1,000%. Food it's calories, one, it's obviously energy, but it's also information. And if we're giving our body all of these chemicals, our body is so smart. Like nature designed it a specific way and it understands that that's not the information that's supposed to be going in. And that causes a cascade of so many other issues. But yeah, like supplements, there's so many supplement brands out there that are just not doing anything for us. And it's unfortunate because marketing is incredible these days. Like you can be sold anything without knowing if it's actually working properly. For example, like curcumin supplements, which is the ingredient that's in turmeric, the really potent anti-inflammatory. If you take like a capsule, like a powdered capsule of curcumin, you might be getting like 50% of what you're actually taking.
Wow.
Yeah. Because our bodies are designed in such a way that when you ingest something in that way, it has to go through your entire digestive system. So it has to go through your stomach acid, the enzymes, and all those things naturally are breaking down that compound. And so it's not as like available for your body to use. But if it's protected in something like a liposomal, if it's protected in something like a liposomal form, which is when the molecule is protected in a lipid, that it can actually pass through your digestive system intact and your body can absorb it like at such a higher rate.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually so fascinating. I did not know that. I actually just was told my mom that she should start taking turmeric.
Yeah.
She has a whole host of issues that I think really at the root cause is like inflammation and very high stress levels and years of drinking coffee on an empty stomach. But I just told her that she should start taking turmeric. And I was honestly thinking like I just showed her how I make my shots, my ginger turmeric shots. But when would you tell a client to start taking liposomal curcumin?
I think everyone can benefit from it, but especially, I mean, my mom too. Like once you get in your 50s and 60s and you start getting like arthritis and your joints hurt all the time and your body is just, it's in pain, you know, you're like aching constantly. That at the root is inflammation. And so you want to get like a natural, if you want to go the natural route, which obviously like we think is best.
Yeah.
A liposomal curcumin is going to be amazing for your body. And it's not going to work like Advil, for example, works like immediately, but it also has side effects. But you want to be taking like these more natural supplements regularly for longer periods of time, and then you're going to see a huge difference.
Wow.
So you have to use it a little bit more differently, but it's so worth it.
How would somebody know, in a world where people are being thrown so many supplements and marketing, like you said, is so intact, how would somebody, if somebody doesn't want to spend like exuberant amount on supplements every single month, like what supplements actually are worth it?
Yeah. I mean, I think in a perfect world, we all just want to get, you know, everything that we need from Whole Foods. But there are some things that I think everyone can benefit from. One, turmeric. I mean, we all have, or one, curcumin, liposomal curcumin, because we all have levels of inflammation in our body that are high just because of the environment that we live in, the chemicals in the environment, chemicals in our food, the stress that we just deal with every day. So I think everyone can benefit from that one. Glutathione is another huge one. Glutathione is the master antioxidant of the human body. And we could all use more of it just because of all of the oxidative stress that we deal with that's in our environment, just like the same stressors that are causing inflammation. So I think those two things just for like baseline health are really, really useful. And you can't get those levels of curcumin and glutathione from food, unfortunately. Like I wish we could get everything that we need from food, but sometimes with this modern world that we live in, we just need an extra boost.
Yeah.
So I think those things are great. But like we said before, you want to make sure you're getting it in a liposomal form because, for example, glutathione, if you take it just in a capsule, your body's only absorbing like maybe 10% of it, which is crazy. So you're kind of just wasting your money. And B12, you're only absorbing maybe 5%.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like one thing I hear from my clients a lot is when it comes to supplements, I feel like I'm going to forget to take it, or, you know, they take it for like a week and then they stop taking it. And my whole thing is, if you have a guarantee 100% in your mind, you're like, this is helping me, you know? And like you said, the liposomal curcumin, it's not going to act as if it's like Advil. You're not going to feel it right away. But we want to make sure that somebody feels like they trust the supplement enough to actually take it every day, to then actually see the effects, right? To see it actually work for them. And I find that because I focus so much on education with my clients, of course they're going to remember to do it every single day. You know, other things too with like nervous system regulation. Like people think, oh, I don't have the consistency for that. I don't have the discipline for that. I'm not going to remember. Like I need even if it's on my counter, I'm probably not going to take it, right? Do you know how easy it is to remember to do something when you have a full 100% guarantee that you know how it's working, and you don't know, you won't know how it's working. You can't have that guarantee if you don't understand what is actually going on in your body and what it's actually doing. I think so many people would be so motivated to change even their taste palette, right? Like everything that they're eating, the barrier to entry is so much lower when you actually understand what is going on in your body. And I think if people understood that, they would know supplements and taking them every single day. If you really trust the supplement, it's not going to be that hard, you know? Yeah. You'll remember to do it. And I feel like that's always a barrier that people put up when I tell them, oh, you know, go, you know, take this supplement for XYZ.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I think the education piece is the most important thing, because if you don't have a solid understanding of what's going on in your body, you're going to be thrown around in every single direction the next time somebody tells you this is what you need, which is why the internet is so crazy, because every year, every month even, there's like a new supplement or a new diet or like a new little trendy thing that you need. And if you don't understand how things are actually affecting you, or if you don't give yourself enough time with being consistent to feel the effects yourself, you're never going to actually, like, you're just going to be thrown around all the time.
Yeah.
Which is why the education is so important. And Like, I completely agree. If you don't believe in something, why are you going to be consistent? Why are you going to go through the motions of doing something every day, whether it be exercise or like cooking healthy food? Because that takes effort. But I mean, taking a supplement isn't really that much effort. It's just like remembering it and having it like in your vision to be able to take it.
I think also an important conversation to have too is, I mean, you said this before, I think everybody could benefit from this supplement, from liposomal curcumin. I think it was that one that you said, or the glutathione, probably both, honestly, everybody could benefit from. But I find that when the problem gets really bad and you're experiencing all these symptoms, then when somebody has, you know, whether they're starting to have like severe symptoms of PCOS, they're having really bad periods, they're having something where they're just like, something is so visibly wrong. You know, that's one sub division of people. But then you have all these other people that it hasn't gotten to that point yet. But I really want to make sure that they're, it's not going to get to that point, right?
Yeah.
Because if we're saying that the whole thing really comes down to inflammation and gut health, poor gut health, there's so many things that, you know, people right now, with the way that they're living, they might not know until, you know, 5 years down the line or when they go to have kids. That's one that's the most heartbreaking, right?
Definitely.
So for all those people that are, you know, like, oh, I don't really have these symptoms yet, I find that a lot of them then come to me and they want they want coaching for like aesthetics, right? They want the coaching for like, oh, I want to change my body. But one thing that I realize is that because of the way that, I mean, I think you and I coach pretty similarly, or back when you used to coach more, coach pretty similarly in the fact that like, hey, this is going to happen. Like the results are going to be seen, you know, but you're going to see such greater results in how you feel. And I think that's the same thing that supplements are going to do for people too. It's like, hey, this might change how you feel, but you're also, the body is also going to be created kind of on default.
Yeah.
You know? So it's for both groups of people that aren't really experiencing crazy symptoms yet, but you know that maybe you're having weight loss resistance, you know, or you're having some sort of thing where you're like, my body isn't responding, or I don't even feel motivated to go to the gym. I don't want to move my body. I'm sore for 3 days. You know? A lot of it at the root is going to be that inflammation.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think prevention is so key, but it's hard to get into people's heads that they need to be proactive with things because people only want to act when they start having symptoms. What are some of the first symptoms that clients come to you with? Like before it gets really bad, but kind of just like when they tell you their storyline, they're like, oh, I started to feel X, Y, and Z. What are those things?
I will say most people come to me, I feel like over the last year, a lot of people have come because they're just like, I need the education. And that's like so amazing to see because I think it's because of honestly, a lot of things that have been trending, you know, this push towards holistic health and holistic healing over social media. I mean, that has been so incredibly powerful. So I think a lot of people actually do come before they have like crazy symptoms. But the number one thing by far is weight loss resistance. And it all stems from inflammation, your body wanting to work for you. But I always tell my clients, your body's not just gonna be like, yeah, the information you're giving me is entirely wrong, but I'll keep doing my thing. No, it's going to stop. Processes will halt. It'll be like, hey, I'm not going to give you good cognitive functioning. I'm not going to make sure that your body is always tapping into fat stores instead of muscle stores, right? Anabolic versus catabolic. I'm going to stop doing all of that because I want to show you something's wrong. Yeah. And then slowly but surely, when you start giving me what I need, I'm going to show you that that I'm going to work for you, you know? But when you live in a world where education is taken out and the marketing is put
pushed
in, it gets blurry, you know? And so, it's usually weight loss resistance that people have. The goal is usually to lose weight, lose fat, but people are so inflamed. I think a lot of people don't even understand how the puffiness of their body and the bloating and all this stuff, it's not even fat. It's inflammation.
Yeah, inflammation, water retention. Yeah.
So it's usually weight loss resistance. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a huge one. I think it's so confusing for people because they get on the internet and it's like calories in, calories out. So they're like, oh, I'm not exercising enough and I need to eat less. And when you start doing that, you're actually making the problem a lot worse because now you're already in a deficit. Your metabolism's already slowed down. You're already nutrient deficient. And now you're starting to get symptoms like bloating, fatigue, like all these things that clients come to me with when they think they're overeating, but they're actually undereating.
Yes.
So that's tricky. And then because 70% of our immune system is in our gut, if your gut's not functioning well, then you're getting sick all the time. Then you can't work out. Then you're eating like crap. And it's just this vicious cycle.
Yeah, I mean, even talk about cortisol, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when your cortisol is either really high or really low or just thrown off, you're pretty much skyrocketing your body into fight or flight. And if your body's in fight or flight and it's in that stress response, I mean, it changes even how the state of your nervous system, even when you're eating, right? And I always think, I'm from the tri-state area. I'm from New York. I'm from New Jersey, but I have a lot of friends in New York. They all work their jobs in New York, and I know they're high stress. It's very hustle bustle, and they love it. You know, there's a certain like fascination and love for like that sort of thing, but also at the same time, it's like not how our bodies are supposed to live. And so I just see them running around, getting into the office, having their coffee on an empty stomach, thinking that they're going to have breakfast, but then not having enough time. So they run into the office, they have their coffee, and then around 1 p.m., they rush out, grab something from the, maybe like a healthy spot down the street that's probably ridden with seed oils and they grab it and they're eating it like really quick before their next meeting.
Yeah.
They're stressed. If I were to eat the same exact thing that they're eating and I'm sitting right next to them, and I'm not stressed and my nervous system is I'm in a regulated nervous state. Nervous is, what is it called? Parasympathetic. Thank you. If I'm in a parasympathetic state, but they're all stressed out, right? They're going to digest that completely different than I'm digesting it. The way that their body is taking in the energy, breaking it down, and then either wanting to utilize it for certain things, or if it's in a state where they just want to store it, it's going to be completely different for the two of us, right? And that's what metabolism all comes down to. And nowadays, metabolism is gut health is a huge, it's a major topic when you're talking about metabolic health. And metabolic health controls everything. It controls your reality. It controls your experience. When you can control the hormones and control how your body is breaking down and utilizing energy and then discarding of it, that's your reality. That's your reality inside of your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think like the biggest issue is that we look at things so separately. We look at our gut health and our hormones and our food and our exercise all as these like separate systems, but they all work together, and it all does start with your nervous system. And so when you can kind of have that like top-down approach, it makes it so much less complicated, because I think when someone comes to like somebody like us, they assume that they're going to have like this crazy list of like all of these things that they have to do. But usually, because I think we have a similar approach, like we start with the basics, like stress reduction and just sitting down with your food and being calm and relaxed and chewing your food. That alone makes like the biggest difference. And then from there you can build upon that. But because everything works together, like you have to start with one thing, because you're going to get so overwhelmed if there's like a million things that you have to do. For sure.
Yeah. And your body's going to start rewarding you when it's even just like that one thing. That I always tell my clients, what is the smallest thing, the thing in your mind that seems the least intimidating that we can find a realistic approach to just doing every single day and sticking to, and then stick to it and see the benefits that come from just that. Like I said, if something is going to really help with bringing the inflammation down, you're already going to see such amazing results when you are reducing the oxidative stress in your body, just eliminating that war that's going on between your cells in your body. You're already going to see just such great results. And then when you feel really good with that, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? That's why it's a process. It's not something where it's just a 1 month, 3 month, even 6 month thing, Yeah,
it's tricky when everybody wants a quick fix. We should talk about Ozempic.
Oh,
because that's one of the most, I think over the next year and a half, 2 years, we are going to see even more of an explosion of people that are on these GLP-1 medications. And I understand the appeal to them. Like, I think we can all kind of understand that, because we've all wanted like this weight loss, quick fix miracle for as long as we can remember. There's been so many different drugs, supplements that have tried to do that. And now it's almost like there's this miracle drug that's making everybody skinny. But I think what people don't realize is GLP-1 is actually produced in our bodies naturally. And a lot of people don't produce enough of the GLP-1 because their gut health is bad. And if we just use the foundations of like proper nutrition, stress reduction, all these things that we're talking about, and we get our gut health and our bodies to a place where we're producing enough GLP-1 and our other hunger hormones like leptin and ghrelin are working properly, we wouldn't need something to suppress our appetite, because our body's supposed to be doing that on its own. But it's so dysregulated because of the way that so many people are living.
Yeah. Could not agree more. Also, it is the craziest thing. And this just goes to the lack of education and how trusting people are of anything that's outside of their body. The goal really should be what can I do to actually trust my body and get it working for me to its greatest potential. And things like these things, I mean, the biggest thing coming from it is, you know, the suppression of appetite. And the craziest thing is when I see people who have had this crazy weight loss resistance and they're eating, I always have my clients do a food audit, like a full week of eating audit, so I can look at the ingredients, the brands that they're having, and then also how much food they're actually having in. Because they'll write things on their initial questionnaire where it's like, I think I eat too much, or I do like late night snacking and all these things. And I see that, well, you didn't eat all day, and then you're having like a 500 calorie snack at night. You had like 800, 900 calories for the day, right? That's severely under eating. There's no way your body is getting the nutrients and macro and micro that it needs in your day. So then that same client, you know, will have 30 pounds to lose. Their body has just stored all this fat and held onto it, right, for so long. And it is locked. It is not going anywhere, right? Because your body will always, always value survival over aesthetics, right? And fat doesn't burn calories, right? Muscle burns calories. So it will eat at your muscle, right? The whole difference between catabolic and anabolic. Anyway, so these clients will come and they'll be like, so I got on Ozempic because I was having weight loss resistance, you know? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you already don't eat enough. And now you're getting on something that's going to suppress your appetite even more and drive your body into even operating on even less.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're getting down to that state, it's not even just like you're working against yourself. You're getting into a really dangerous spot with your body, especially as a woman.
Yeah. Your fertility is going to go out the window.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what happens when you want to come off of it is the other thing. Because these medications are supposed to be lifelong. And that's what's so scary is like, one is just the appetite suppressant thing is like a lot of people that are going on these medications, they have issues with their relationship with food.
Yeah.
And so when they take the GLP-1, it's kind of like shutting off that food noise is like the coined term now, which is like that nagging noise that's like, oh, what am I going to have like next to eat, you know? And it's suppressing this issue with the relationship with food. And so when you stop taking it, that's going to come back with a vengeance because you didn't actually fix the problem. And on top of that, the GLP-1 is actually slowing down your digestive system. And so when you stop taking it, that's going to come back with a vengeance as well. And you're going to have all of these stomach issues. And I've seen it already. So I can't imagine like in the next couple of years how bad it's going to be. And then when they come off those drugs, you know that all of these gut health brands are going to come and be like, oh, take this after being on a GLP-1. And it's going to be marketed in that way as well.
Yeah.
So it's not good.
Something tells me also the way that it's so crazy because, I mean, obviously we see this trend of, you know, give it 4 to 6 months and somebody is going to be like, whoa, this isn't working for me anymore. And 2, I'm in a worse spot now because of this. But it's also, think about the societal standard that's ever changing as well. You know, it's like, and I'm sorry, but like the Kardashians are behind everything with also like GLP-1. And that was like the major push, you know, like they all got like tiny and then that became the whole trend. Now we're not all curvy anymore. Now we're tiny.
Yeah.
And then, oh, well now we're just all going back to curvy again. And it's like, at what point do you just stop living for that and you just want to be like, my experience in my body, like that is the only thing that matters, however that looks like on the outside, that's going to look like. And truthfully, if you're doing all the right things, whatever the goal body is, you can very easily attain it, right? If you just stop overthinking everything and stop running towards all the quick fixes. But yeah, I can't help but see also the health trends follow the aesthetic trends. You know, and it's like, at what point do you want to keep cycling through with your life? It's like you have one life.
It's crazy. And I feel like we've talked about this a lot, but like just the yo-yo dieting and the trying to follow trends is what causes this nervous system dysregulation. And the weight gain, the weight loss, like all of these peaks and valleys that you're putting your body through causes so much digestive and hormonal dysregulation in and of itself. Like like not even talking about all of the crap that's in our food and in our environment, just like the yo-yoing that women, that we put ourselves through like over our whole life, is what causes a lot of the hormonal and gut health dysregulation. And then we kind of have to like backpedal and unlearn all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's tricky.
It's so wild because I often think of it like this too. Our bodies are so complex because they want to respond to simple.
Yeah.
We don't need to know all the intricacies of our body. Like, thank God for technology and for the medical field and everything that we learn so much about our bodies, right? But even take it centuries ago. I mean, we didn't need to know our bodies to such a complex level because our bodies, while they are complex, it's very simple.
Yeah.
If your body knows what to expect and isn't thinking that it's going to be getting all these chemicals, isn't thinking that it's going to have all these endocrine disruptors around it, isn't thinking that our lives are going to be so incredibly stressed all the time, your body, it's not requiring much of you, really. You know, it's like, oh, I like the sun, I like the water, I like when I'm hydrated. You know, it's like, oh, do these things, you know, feed me whole foods. And I'm like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
We don't have the luxury of that anymore nowadays. But it doesn't mean that we have to throw all these crazy things. It's likely that you just need to simplify your life, right? And you need to not worry so much about all of the different trends that are going on. I think right now there are some really healthy trends that are happening in terms of, you know, everything going on in like holistic gut health.
Yeah.
And I think there is this simplification that's going on where it's like, hey, you don't need all this, you don't need all this, you don't need all this, which is why I think it's really important that people do know, you know, what are the supplements that they can actually trust enough to feel inspired to take every single day, you know. Sorry, I didn't leave that off on a spot where we could go ADHD.
Me too, ADHD with listening to you. I'm like, I could say this, I could say this.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking this morning just how crazy it is and the mental gymnastics that we have to do to understand like what's healthy. But I heard somebody say it. What was the quote? It was a very simple quote. Oh, it's just like, ask yourself this question. Like, are you doing what it takes to get to where you want to be? And I feel like that's such a good like gut check, because most of the time we know exactly what we're supposed to be doing, and we can tell like what's like scammy and what's not, because it's pretty obvious most of the time. But because we're just inundated with so much information, we get so confused. But just asking yourself that question, like, am I doing what it takes to get to where I need to be? Most of the time it's a super easy yes or a super easy no. And it's just, again, like about simplifying the process and doing like a couple things every day, like going in the sun, moving your body, eating healthy, staying hydrated, which I need to do a lot better at. And then from there, you can optimize, and then you can take supplements and those sorts of things. But I think that comes like after you are really honest with yourself and asking yourself the question, like, am I actually nailing down the basics?
Yeah. Are you giving it a fair shot?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I always tell people, like, you have to be so for real with yourself. Please be so for real with yourself. Like, are you giving it a fair shot?
Yeah.
You know, because there's also in a world where we're like dopamine chasing, right? We're kind of like, well, this sounds boring. Like, the simplification sounds boring, you know?
It is boring.
It is boring, but it's like, go find some other exciting things to do with your life.
I know, it doesn't
like,
have to be your health.
Exactly, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I always think, like, before you rule things out, have you actually given it a fair shot? And that's why it's so important. Focus on one little thing, like you said. So yeah, I completely agree. What is the number one issue, let's say like a gut health issue, that people come to you for to heal?
Well, the number one symptom is bloating, which is such a popular topic these days. But bloating can be caused by so many different things, so it's tricky to pinpoint like what is actually causing it, and it kind of depends like what other symptoms are coming with it. because you can have bloating and acid reflux. You can have bloating and really bad sugar cravings. You can have bloating and headaches. Like there's so many different symptoms. And what I usually see is bloating, really bad sugar cravings, skin rashes and hives. They develop a lot of food sensitivities or food intolerances. And usually when you have that cluster of symptoms, it's an imbalance of bacteria and yeast in your gut, because what a lot of people don't realize is if you have an overgrowth of yeast, which is like, it's natural for us to have that in our digestive system. But when it overgrows, it causes crazy sugar cravings.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you feel like you have all those symptoms and your sugar cravings are just like crazy out of control, you might have a candida overgrowth.
So what is we just talked about that, like what is the first thing that somebody can do? So like what does that first step look like in terms of healing that and reducing those cravings and, you know, making sure that you get that proper like balance back in your gut?
Well, the first thing is you want to make sure that you have it.
Yeah.
So make sure that
everybody
you have
thinks
it.
they have everything.
I know.
That's yes.
So like work with a professional to see, you know, what's actually going on. But usually if you have a candida overgrowth, it's a very low sugar, low carbohydrate diet, because the yeast feeds off of sugar and carbohydrates. So the more you feed it that, the more it's going to grow. I didn't say no carbohydrates. You still need some, obviously, to like keep everything moving properly. But yeah, that diet, and then usually digestive enzymes, because you need that extra help. Things like oregano oil are amazing. It's like a natural antifungal, antibacterial. Liposomal curcumin, because you're going to have a lot of inflammation going on in your body just from the overgrowth and everything else that's going on. And then a lot of stress reduction. But sugar cravings can also be caused by a lot of different things. And I know you have experience in that too with clients. What's like another thing that you see that's very common with sugar cravings?
Sugar and dopamine. I like this.
BFFs.
Yeah, BFFs, unfortunately. So, you know, I work with a lot of women who have some sort of range of disordered eating or possibly eating disorder, right? I'm very vocal about an eating disorder that I had when I was back in college. And one thing that I didn't understand about eating disorders and why I'm really vocal about it now is because it's something that's chemically going on in your body. It's not that you just really like sugar. There were so many times I'd be sitting in front of something and just being like, I need to finish it. And I really don't want it. Like, it doesn't even taste good after a while. You're just like, but I need to finish it because I have this big task that I have to do. I didn't realize until I talked to a psychologist when I was in college that my craving for sugar primarily, right, was due to, it was always before, she was like, do you have this craving usually at night right before, you know, you have to like, you're really stressed or you have something like really big that you need to finish, like a big like paper or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, that's actually always like, I feel like I always have to order food before it or, you know, something like that if I'm gonna, and it's because your brain is like, hey, I don't have enough dopamine to be able to do whatever you're asking me to do. Or if your dopamine is all thrown off, let's say you're not in college and you don't have, you know, a paper or whatever. If your dopamine's all thrown off, like your body can get so quickly attached to seeing food as the first thing that's going to give you dopamine because food releases the dopamine the quickest, right? That's why you have people that even, I mean, any addiction is like that, right? It's your body forming an association with something being like, hey, this is going to help me. And so when you form that with sugar, and usually things that have sugar are so attached with also chemicals that very easily activate a part of your brain that's like, okay, I'm always going to ask. The food industry knows this.
Oh yeah,
certain chemicals
definitely.
are like, are just put into food. It doesn't change the taste of the food. It doesn't help them bake better. It doesn't anything. It's truly just, I know that somebody's going to keep coming back to this, you know? I always like to say, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but I always like to say, like, think of like the smell of Dunkin' Donuts or think of the smell of Starbucks. There's a certain smell.
Ingrained in our
Everything
brain.
tastes similar.
Yeah.
You know, there are chemicals that keep us attracted to certain places, certain foods. And then we start forming such strong associations. It's like a trauma bond with food. And it's the wildest thing. So a lot of people, when they come to me, it's usually stemming from they're not eating enough. Their hormones might be off. Progesterone is tanking, or if progesterone is low, that's also going to make you crave carbs a lot more. That's why with also your cycle, you're going to see like this over, how do I say? That's why in certain parts of your cycle, you're going to feel like you don't want more food. You're going to have more cravings, maybe not just for sugar. But when it comes down to sugar cravings, primarily, it's because of this dopamine, a dopamine disorder. And the way that we fix that is, one, usually by eating more food. Two, by breaking the sugar addiction, which just unfortunately, it's going to be 2 weeks of just not having sugar.
Yeah.
You know, I tell my clients there's so many, even like the date Snickers that we both love. You know, find low glycemic fruits and low GI, pretty much everything, and focus on those. Don't have it before bed. Don't have anything that's not low GI before bed.
Yeah.
And really just try it. Sugar, honestly, I am somebody who, as long as it's not like from fruit and everything, eradicate it.
Yeah.
Just eradicate it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything for your body, and it ages you. Usually when I tell clients that it ages you, they're like, all right,
I'm done.
I'm done.
I know it's hard because sugar is one of those things. It's really like a drug. It's addictive.
It is a drug.
It is. It literally is. And it's hard because there's so many people that are like, oh, have everything in moderation. And I think that's amazing advice for a certain person at a certain time. But when that's just like a blanket statement, it's so not true. Because if you're already in a state of inflammation and you have that dopamine issue, when you're just having like a little bit of sugar, it sends you on a crazy roller coaster. I call it the sugar monster because the more you feed it, the stronger it gets. So if you're having like really intense sugar cravings and you just have like a little bit here, a little bit there, it's not going to be a little bit. It's going to be a lot. So sometimes you just have to cut it out cold turkey. And it sucks for the first 2 weeks. Like you're going to have headaches. You're going to have really bad cravings. But after those 2 weeks, you're not even going to want it.
You're not going to at all. Yeah. All right. Okay.
Now I got to do my...
I feel like we did it.
my life.
All right. Okay, girlfriend, do your thing.